What a waste. Killing this thing. This big frost giant. Surely centuries old. Well, what stories he would have with him. And now he's just a big hulking corpse. I know once I would have just relished such a fight with something such as this, but at this point, I can't help but feel it's a bit wasteful, really. I can't help feeling there's so much to learn, so many things I don't know. And here we are in a frost giant's fort, looking around for religious texts. I suppose we don't have as much time as we hoped. Guardians are going to be here soon, and I suppose the goddess herself, if that is truly what she is. Better clean this mess up. I might, through my new powers, be able to trick the mind of one of these beasts. And then we get what we need and get out of here. Ah, my body hurts. Roman doesn't seem as keen to heal it anymore. He'd rather save it for his magical bolts. I understand him now. It's a rush. It is a rush. To battle! This is Red Moon Role-Playing.
Deep beneath the great icy fortress, in a great underground chamber, our heroes had been hiding out of sight as an individual approached a great door, and upon reciting some incantations, opened said door. The figure had began to move through the door to a chamber that lied beyond. In this otherwise dark underground chamber, this new chamber actually seems to have some glowing blue light coming from somewhere within the chamber itself. This, therefore, lights up the room you are in. Sadly, as that happens, the crag cat creatures tilt their heads and growl, as one looks to the left and sees you, Roman, and one looks to the right and sees you, Roshek. Roshek, what do you do?
I feel that we're not going to be welcome here. This could only be trouble. We need to be done with it quickly. I feel somehow a connection with this beast, or perhaps something that I could stretch into and affect. I would like to cast Dominate Beast.
Certainly. Tell us what happened.
I reach out and I try to feel through the distance between us, look into the eyes of this beast, and feel some sort of power stretch out from me.
You reach out your spell to grasp upon this creature's mind. You understand animals, you understand beasts. This being will obey you. But then you are struck by something. There is resistance. How can there be a resistance? You feel it, because you are not the being's master. This is not a wild beast. This is a beast tamed by someone with a greater connection than you will ever have, and your spell is resisted.
As I feel this resistance tingling in the air, I sever the connection. I take a few steps back, looking at Roman. What do we do?
As you look to Roman and in a low voice whisper, "What do we do?" the two creatures roar and begin moving towards you. The figure turns his head. Could everyone please roll initiative?
That is 16.
20.
Roshek, as you finish speaking and realize the beasts are upon you, you realize quickly it's not a case of what will you do. You need to do something now, as battle has begun. So what do you do? It is your turn.
As the beasts growl and I realize we're out of time, I let my hand lift off from the summoned maul that I have. I reach out and I fling out my eldritch blast to try and attack these creatures before they get too close.
The closest one to you is coming from the right. Would that be the one you attack first?
Yes, the one that I was trying before to dominate.
Roll your attack.
19.
That's a hit. Roll damage.
12.
The first beam of energy hits the creature in the side. It wails, bleeding heavily already as it continues to charge towards you. You have injured it, but it is not deterred yet.
I feel another beam come out of the same hand. It's like these are almost pulling each other out. The next one, though, is 13.
That's a hit. Roll damage.
6.
A second beam strikes one of its paws, but this time it hits the ground more than the creature itself. Still a hit, but unfortunately the creature is still going to be able to charge at you.
As I'm doing this, I continuously moving backward, and blast flies out, and the others. I'm trying to put myself behind Roman, behind his shield and the thick steel that's protecting him.
Very well. You will dart from your pillar and attempt to cross the chamber, moving to the pillar where Roman is currently situated. Roman, things are happening very quickly. You think you saw Roshek attempt to do something to one of these crag cat creatures, but sadly it didn't work. This alerted the beings, and they are now charging towards you. He has attacked one, and then darted over to your side of the chamber, and now you have a crag cat approaching the both of you, while the other one, slightly injured, is on the other side. For now, what do you do, Roman?
And the other person is not in visual range.
Currently, if you look very quickly, you think you can see that they've just sort of turned fully from where they are behind that great door. But you can't see them doing anything just yet.
Right, and I cannot target them, right?
If you leave your pillar and just move into the middle of the chamber, or even move towards that door, then yes, you can definitely target them.
Well, let's begin by taking care of these crag cats then. So, the one that is charging us, I will unleash a guiding bolt, trying to take it down before it reaches us.
Roll your attack.
That is a 14.
That's a hit. Roll damage.
19.
You unleash your guiding bolt, hitting the creature squarely in its side. It falls to its legs for a moment, howling in pain, already heavily injured, but still not down yet.
That is the end of my turn, so I hold there.
The crag cats stagger around a little. Both have been heavily injured, but such beasts merely fight harder when they fear they are close to death, especially when they still have some backup. Therefore, the beings begin coming towards you. The one further away will be backing up the one from behind, but the one that was coming towards you, Roman, continues its charge. However, as it arrives, it clearly has been thrown off balance by your injury. It meets your shield and just crashes against it. The other one is circling around. It doesn't reach you this turn, but it comes from the side, still trying to pursue you, Roshek. You then notice, even though your attention is distracted by these two beasts, that suddenly there's a bit of a glow coming from that doorway. Some sort of circle, glowing almost like moonlight, just sort of forms in front of the door. At this point, Velen, from her vantage point, raises her staff, and electrical bolts of energy fire towards one of these crag cats. However, It does seem as if her aim's a little off, Roshek. A lot of the bolts sort of fly a bit wide. They are hitting the crag cat about to attack you, but again, they just add to the injury and don't quite take it down just yet. It's your go, Roshek. What do? You are now beside Roman. One of these crag cats has crashed into him, but he's managed to shield them off. But the other one, injured, is still trying to get a claw on you before it falls.
Is it within my reach of my maul?
Yes, it is.
Having run across the chamber, I feel a twitch in my leg. Is clearly not good, not since that giant brought down his great axe just next to me, shook the ground, and somehow my muscles are in pain. I better finish this quickly. I try to, as the cat comes from the side, I'm trying to drive upwards in a strike with the maul.
Roll your attack.
18.
That's a hit. Roll damage.
11.
You hit Roshek. Tell me how you end this beast's life.
The maul, being my packed weapon, is lighter than a normal one would be. It flies with the energy of my magic, and as it comes, I swing from the ground and upward, catching the crag cat in mid-air, crushing its skull from below. There's a crunch as it somersaults through the air, stopped in its leap, and crashes down on the side.
And it is slain. What do you do next?
Well, the maul wants to continue its attack, but I don't know if I'm close enough to swing it at the other one.
Not where you're standing. You need to move a little around the pillar to intercept it in melee.
Can I do so?
Yes, you can, but you will need to step out in front of the pillar.
I let the momentum of the maul carry me around in a spin as it comes down crashing just near the other crag cat.
Roll your attack.
That's a 14.
That's a hit. Roll damage.
11.
And you slay the second one. You find yourself thinking that perhaps this would have been a little harder had they not already been heavily injured, but finishing them off, the beasts were already not able to withstand your assault.
And as the maul comes down, it sort of shimmers and half disappears for a second as I'm catching myself. And I feel tired from the exertion. These fights. I better get some rest soon or sit down, but now then I look up towards the door and I too see the shimmering, and I look at the others. Is he trying to close it?
Roman, it is your turn. What do you do?
Well, I will rush out then into the middle of the room, trying to see what is there and make myself ready to unleash my powers upon whatever is there.
Wonderful. You move out, seeing beyond the doorway. There's a chamber beyond. There's blue light coming from it, but you can't see anyone. But would you like to take a ready action?
That sounds like a good idea.
Then you shall do so. And then, from beyond the doorway, you see this hooded figure step out. What do you do, Roman?
Then I unleash my guiding bolt on it as soon as it appears.
Roll your attack.
That is 26. That is a natural 20.
That is a critical hit with a spell. You will do double damage. Roll your damage.
43.
You stand there, resolute, confident in your combat prowess, and fire your guiding bolt directly across towards this being. Whatever's in front of the door does not stop your bolt, as it hits this figure straight in the chest. They stagger back, blood spilling from their mouth as they roar in surprise at the sheer power of your spell. And as they stagger back, they meet your spell for their spell. Suddenly, the air around you and Roshek, as you are both reasonably close together, fills with ice. Shards of ice erupt from all corners as a great storm, an icy storm, hits the both of you. Both of you, please roll a dexterity saving throw.
That is a 17.
It's a natural 20, 22.
As the ice storm hits you, instinctively both of you feel that you've been in a similar scenario before. The key is not being so close. You dive in completely opposite directions. Roman, you raise your shield, getting behind it as much as you can, and Roshik, you almost feel your energies just sort of get you out of the way quicker than expected. Both of you only take 7 ice damage.
I stagger back a bit, but it could have been a lot worse.
Indeed. Meanwhile, Velen steps out from behind, sees the situation, and again just fires straight forwards with her wand that seems to fire these magic missiles. And again this individual is hit again and again and again, staggering back further into this chamber, falling to the ground, staggering up to keep its balance. Roshek, it is your turn. What do you do?
I see the opening that Velen has created. It bites and pierces my skin, what he did, and I find it hard to concentrate. But I'll have to. I start slicing the air from where I am, with them all, sending off these eldritch blasts, trying to use it as a conduit. Different colours and sparks go through the air.
Roll your attack.
25.
That's a hit. Roll damage.
8.
And the being falls back, staggering a little, and then falling to the ground. It's not quite dead yet, you don't think, Roshek, but if you wish to end this now, you can try.
I am not really thinking at this point. I am swinging wildly. Perhaps too wildly. The next bolt goes off, and it's a 13.
That's a hit.
9 damage.
Roshek, you feel the fight is over. If you wish to kill this person, you can do so. You could also veer your aim a little, and maybe they won't die just yet. It is your choice.
I feel the maul vibrating with the eldritch energy as I'm walking forward, holding off the second blast, holding it aimed straight at the person, and I say, "Stop! Don't move!"
Just to clarify, as you walk forward, how far forward do you walk?
I keep moving towards him. I'm just walking forward towards him.
Do you walk through the strange glowing circle before the door?
Do I see it clearly there?
You can still see something is there, yes.
It's shimmering in the air. Well, I'll stop slightly before that. I don't quite know enough about magic and what this could mean.
Then you stop. The figure says nothing. They are simply bleeding out on the floor. Just a bit in front of you, beyond this circle on the ground.
Roman, what is this? Velen?
It would be best to not enter it, I think. It may trigger some kind of effect. It might be best to wait it out.
Yes, I definitely would. It's most likely a ward or some sort of defensive mechanism, but just give it a moment. Well done, everyone! Ha ha! Again, goodness me, you two are most proficient.
I stand there. I'm somehow not feeling quite satisfied with what I just did. It feels like I was just trying to reason before with a giant, and now these cats and this person, I don't even know them. I don't even know what they would have done to me. It's like bittersweet how easy it went.
Well, it certainly seems Roman, as always, is most proficient, although you definitely seem to feel that your own powers that time were a little more efficient as well. In the time it takes you to think this, and the time it takes Roman and Velen to suggest waiting just a moment, 30 seconds pass, maybe, and whatever was in front of the doorway fades. You are before a chamber, with glowing blue light coming from it. The doors are still open, and there is a being bleeding out on the floor, heavily injured, sort of struggling to move a little, but it would be very easy to finish them off any more time you wished, Roshek.
As I see the circle fade out, I start moving forward again, and I say, "You don't need to die this day."
Oh, but I shall. Cruelly and alone.
Where is the codicil of white?
Do you step closer to the being?
Yes.
As you step fully over to them, you see that they appear to be a human man of some kind, at least that's how they look, underneath all the bloodied furs and the helmet or hat they were wearing that has now fallen off. They are smiling, quite happy it seems. Use your eyes, fool.
I look up behind him.
You seem to be in a large chamber. Not very large, mind you, compared to the chambers you've just been in. Arranged within this room are 3 tablets of ice, each 10 feet tall, 7 feet wide, and 1 foot thick. They sit upright in stands that are also carved from ice. Some sort of script has been chiseled into the surface of each tablet. And there is another door standing in the middle of this chamber just before you, although this door seems partially open.
Yes. What do the others do?
I am looking around, trying to see if there's any threats in here.
Roman, you step in, seeing the same things Roshik is seeing. You can't detect anything else, just these tablets, a door just a bit before you, and a very nice chamber of ice. However, you do notice that the source of light, the blue, seems to be coming from glowing orbs, sort of set in the walls, perhaps some sort of magical torchlight.
I shall walk up to these tablets to try to see what's on there.
Holy script. It's written in common. It speaks of the isolation of the cold, the fear and hostility of endless winter, the importance of perseverance. Holy texts, clearly.
Is this the codicil of white, then?
As you say that out aloud, Velen, by your side, slowly coming in. No. Obviously, you're a priest, aren't you, Roman? Don't your temples of the fan have similar things all over the place? Except, I don't know, don't your lot like putting it on tapestries or giant golden plaques?
Well, we do that. It does shine so brightly. Well, I have no real idea of what to expect from this codicil, but I suppose it is further in then. This is just a taste of what is to come.
Well, I don't know if I'd agree with that. A shrine's a shrine. Why don't we just look a little further ahead? Velen begins moving a little further ahead, but Roshik, you're still there with this being just sort of laughing a little to themselves.
Is he dying?
Yes.
I just look at him, seeing his lifeblood run out on the floor and him being incapable, it seems, to do anything about that. I somehow feel pity for him, and I don't understand why he's smiling. It's almost like the giant wishing for death. And as I release the sustained energy that holds my packed weapon in place, I release also the Eldritch Blast stored within it, and I fire it down upon him.
As you're getting ready to charge your attack, Roman, you notice he's about to finish this individual off. You hadn't even spoken to them yet. Do you just allow Roshek to finish them off?
Roshek, wait a minute. Perhaps we shall just question him. Perhaps there's something that he can tell us. You serve Auril?
Roshek, as he asks this question, do you actually do as Roman says?
It takes an effort to redirect the blast, and it zaps down next to the ground, and the maul fades away.
And so the man looks to you, Roman, his eyes briefly looking over your pendant to your face, and then nowhere as he's coughing up blood. Of course.
Then you wish to die like this, don't you? You're getting what you want.
Almost. I so wish I could have seen the beauty that awaited. But that is my fate then.
What is it that awaits? What is it that she wants to bring forth?
What do you think, priest of Lathander? All gone? Your despicable, pathetic civilization you try and build here. All gone. Only the strong will remain. A perfect, beautiful Everwinter. It will be glorious.
You might think so. We, of course, don't. Do you have anything of value to tell us?
The being shrugs. You are all going to die? Especially ones of your faith, or any other faith. Unless, of course, you run. You can run beyond the mountains, you'll be safe there.
Well, we're all fated to die one day. And I suppose your day is today. Roshek, if you would like to do the deed, and feel free. I don't think he has anything of value to tell us.
Yes, I shall die alone, killed cruelly, after having persevered and endured so much. Yes.
I hope you find peace with your god.
Is he carrying something, or does he seem like he was about to do something? I mean, is there anything hinting about him, what he was actually there for?
You have no idea, Roshek. He came to the doors. He was entering this place. It seems he must have passed these tests, you guess. And now he's dying. He has an icy dagger that you notice is already melting. It's fallen just to his side.
Are there more of you here? Are you the only one in this place?
Today, it seems. A pity.
Huh. And what are you doing here? What is your role in this grand scheme of hers?
He looks at you a little confused. I am a priest of Orel. I worship my goddess. What else does there need to be?
I suppose not. Any last words, I say, and I raise my hand and there's a crackling spark forming in it.
The same as I said to the priest. Run while you can. Although you are strong, maybe you would be one of the ones who survived.
May you find peace, then. And I let the power, the force of it slam into the side of his head.
And his head tilts violently to the side as you blow a hole in it with your magical powers.
I lower my hand. I notice it's shaking a bit. It feels all my muscles are somehow strained. It hurts. I need to have them looked over. I look over to Roman. Well, I suppose that's that. We should make haste before, well, Angajuk tires of us, or this Isgra, or whatever it was that he was fearing, shows up as well.
Agreed. Yes, let us find this codicil as soon as we can.
At that point, you notice that Velen has already gone ahead and pushed those doors open just a little more. You can see her still, but she's just gone into another chamber. Wouldn't take you long to catch up.
So those tablets, are they out of our reach?
Nope, you could easily get to them. They're quite large, as I said.
Alright, but it's nothing that we could carry, is it?
Unfortunately, as you go over to the tablets, they do seem to be very big and they look very heavy.
I don't have any particular interest in this codicil of white. It's just a tool that we need in order to fulfill Valen's plan. So instead I stand a bit and I study these tablets and see if I can make sense of anything on it.
Certainly. They tell you of the tenets of Aurel, how important it is to persevere, how important it is to endure, how important it is to be cruel and accept cruelty in life, how important it is to be isolated, to be alone, for only then can you understand the other tenets. And of course, how important it is to preserve things that are truly wonderful and truly unique. It says this all in a very hymn-like fashion. This is religious text.
Preserve it through encasing it in ice, I must suppose. I mumble to myself as I'm standing there by myself, reading them.
Roman, what do you do?
Follow Velen inside.
Roman, you follow her to the second chamber where she is already doing something. This chamber has a domed ceiling engraved with a giant snowflake. 2 great murals stand next to another doorway, which is on the wall that you are currently facing as you walk into this new room. They depict a towering woman. In the middle of this room, before that final doorway, is a 5-foot-tall, claw-shaped lectern with a white-covered book resting upon it.
That must be it. I begin moving up to it confidently, and then I cast Find Traps on the lectern where the book is to try to just make sure that it isn't protected by something dangerous.
Indeed. And so you cast your enchantment and detect nothing other than a feeling of a holy place. You can roll religion if you like.
8.
Well, you're not entirely sure why there aren't any traps, but if you were to make an assumption, you look behind you. This is a place for worshippers. Why would you leave traps here?
Indeed. I suppose it makes perfect sense. She has had guards here, after all. No need to put anything else to protect the codicil. I'll move up to it then and look into the book.
And you move up to the codicil, and as you do so, Velen quickly comes to your side, not barging you out of the way, but just a little excited, like, "Wow, wonderful, wonderful, there we go, this is indeed the codicil of white. Well, I suppose you can have a look first if you want, but I know what I'm looking for."
Let me just see what it is, and then you can have it. And I look into the Codicil of White. Is this just a religious text about perseverance and the importance of dying alone?
Mostly, yes. Of course, there is far more detail here. This is a holy text. You are reminded of the text of Lathander. It is all here, not simply the base tenets, but how to conduct the rituals, how to enact yourself as a follower. Her words are harsh, it seems, far from the loving words of a god like Lathander. But the words are similar. All religious texts, after all, have similar bents.
Yes, this is it. Well, look for whatever it is that you need in there. This is the Codicil of White.
Certainly, certainly. I only need one thing. After all, we're not going to steal it. I'm sure you know of all people how bad an idea that would be.
Yes. Doesn't feel right.
Indeed, Roman. Even a god like this, who is not necessarily a friend of yours, maybe even an enemy, you still know that stealing an extremely important religious text from a temple, gods tend to notice that and get quite angry when you do it. Maybe it's best it just stays here. You don't actually need the book, it seems, just the information within. And so Velen goes and begins reading the book. Time is passing. 5 minutes. Must have been 10 minutes. Roshik, what are you doing? You notice, after studying for a little bit, that the others are in a chamber beyond. They've been there not too long, but time is passing. Do you join them, or if you wish, you can continue simply to read these great tablets?
I am indulging myself in this, and also I feel uneasy about us all gathering up in there, so I'm also keeping an eye out in case anyone decides to come inn.
Indeed. Roman, you notice Velen reading, and then she seems to find something. She takes out her notebook, starts writing something down with a quill. Her owl sort of just perched on her shoulders now. Nothing seems to be happening otherwise, although you do notice that the doorway before you has no door. Instead, it seems to lead to somewhere with just mist, bluish mist. Do you do anything?
Yes. I begin moving in that direction towards the blue mist. What could that be?
You poke your head towards the blue mist. As you get closer, you can see nothing beyond it. Unless you squint a little, roll me a perception check.
14.
You think you can see something in this room. Several things. You're not sure what they are, but they're covered in blue mist and fog. And the air here feels very cold all of a sudden.
Perhaps best to stay away from that then.
As you step back, you hear Velen say, "Excellent! Excellent! I have it. The Rime of the Frostmaiden. It is a sort of, it's basically a ritual, or an incantation, designed to, I believe, remove enchantments the Frostmaiden has made herself, as in barriers. If you speak this, any barrier she has made will disperse, and of course, I don't need to tell you that the entire Ragged Glacier, well, if you were to hide something in there forever, you definitely would put a barrier up, wouldn't you?"
You certainly would.
Excellent. Well, I have it, my dear Roman, I have it. We don't need the book anymore. Shall we leave? I believe we're done here.
Yes. I suppose we have what we need then. Is the book still open on that page where she was looking?
Yes.
I also go and look at this rhyme.
Very well, then.
I read it quietly to myself. We bow to she who wears the crown. Let the world shiver in dread. Clad in winter's whitest gown, her snow enshrouds the dead. Her fury sheds but frozen tears as grey clouds issue forth. Her wind across the wasteland shears, bringing blizzards from the north. Icy-kissed flowers caught mid-bloom, beauty kept in all its grace. Summer's gone to its silent tomb, stilling in her cold embrace. All the world's in winter's white, sheathed in sleet and ice. Set upon never-ending night, she conjures paradise. Behold her everlasting rhyme, see how it covers all. Weep not for those she traps in time, behind her glacial wall. Sovereign of summer's lost, general of winter's war, long live the queen of cold and frost. May she reign forevermore.
As you say the words, there is a chill on the air, and a strange presence can be felt, but nothing more than that. Velen nods. Yes, don't worry, the words themselves are just words, it's more about the incantations you're casting at the same time.
Certainly, yes. Well, good to know. Well, I start following Velen out then, if we're done here.
Roshek, the two of them seem to be coming from some room. You finally look in its direction. Looks like there was a book there, and some chamber beyond there with some blue mist, but you can't see any more than that. But they're coming out of the room. What do you do?
I have passed some time going over to the dead priest as well, and I've looked him over to see if there was anything there that could prove valuable to us.
Some old necklaces with fangs on them, bits of teeth, fur cloaks.
Necklaces with fangs?
Yes.
Does that seem familiar?
Not necessarily any familiar than any other necklace you've seen before. It's simply a necklace made of bones and teeth.
Made of actual bones and teeth, not like the little wooden necklace that had the teeth drawn on them that I remember.
Correct.
Well, I suppose I just let him lie there. It doesn't feel right somehow. I don't know what's coming over me. I see them coming out. Well, did you find it?
We did indeed.
Indeed we did, Roshek. Indeed we did. Now, I don't know about you two, but this place is awfully chilly, rather dull. I believe we should be leaving at once.
Yeah. Right. Let's go then, I say, and I wince a little as I stand up from the corpse.
Velen begins leading the way. Beyond this chamber, back to the staircase, cold and slippery, but not too hard to traverse going up as it was going down, Roshek. Back through the cold halls, silent again, silent still. Back to the entrance. Roman, what is going through your mind as you seem to be exiting this great, old fortress?
This is it? This was everything we needed, just as Rime. It seems so easy, somehow. But it must not be. There must be more. There must be more to this. Well, Velen seems to know what she's doing. I just don't trust her. Not fully. Well, I have my eyes on her.
And Roshek, what is on your mind? There is a slight tug as you are leaving this place. What other chambers laid in wait? What other treasures were there in this place?
I feel torn about this. We've really entered something magnificent, and we've just beelined our way through it towards what we thought we needed. I mean, there was one giant guarding something. I assume the rest are dead. I feel a bit of sweat sort of trickling down my spine, and how it kind of catches the cold of the air. I pull the furs around me. Maybe it's better that we're out of here anyways.
Outside, you find your axe beaks waiting just where you left them. They are shivering a little in the cold, but they are able to endure it. And you mount and begin making your way once again down those stairs, those long stairs leading back into the mists of the Isle and the gardens of the dead. As this is happening, Velen remarks, I suggest we make post-haste. You all remember what the great Angerduke said? We seem to have been very lucky, and someone isn't home. But I don't know about you. I don't know how much time's passed. Probably best we don't press our luck and see what happens if we stay too long, yes?
Agreed. Let us make haste.
Looking out at the mist, it is indeed hard to say how much time has passed. I try to spot the shipwreck in the distance, think of how I wanted to visit that as well, but my body aches with exertion. I haven't been fighting like this for a long time. Come to think of it, I've never fought like this.
You also realize that you're looking at the wrong shipwreck. It takes you a moment to adjust your eyes and realize, no, there was another one. You were looking to the west. How many shipwrecks are on this island?
Yeah, surely many had just been pulled in, or didn't see it suddenly there. The mist surrounding it, and I feel a shiver. Yeah, I'm tired. I need some rest. Let us make our way to Angerduke.
Will you both ride your beasts a little faster then?
Yes.
And you do so, making quicker progress this time. You know the way now after all, and there do not seem to be any new dangers. You begin riding back into the mists, back through the gardens of statues, back along the old road. An hour or two passes. The air is tense, heavy, and it is just as you are getting back to the port, just as you hear Velen call out aloud, and you hear the sounds of movement on the ocean. Angerduke, there they are. That you just hear, quite far behind you now, a great shriek on the air, like a bird calling out. What do you do?
We need to get back to Angerduke as soon as possible.
Yeah, whatever that was. I don't want it finding us.
Agreed.
You both quickly ride to the shoreline where Angerjuk is waiting and begin quickly making the preparations needed to get back on board the boat of Angerjuk. Again, you hear the shriek in the air. Rorschach, if you look back, you'll notice far, far away, back to the center of the island, you can't obviously see, but you can almost sense that there is something gathering. The winds are beginning to move, the fog is beginning to stir, the air suddenly getting even colder. Velen is sort of crashing about a little as she comes off one of the axe beaks and saying to Angerjuk, "Angerjuk, my good man, I think it's time to leave. Is that all right with you?" Angerjuk says, "Yes. Iskra is back. Time to go. She doesn't like me."
Iskra? Is she some other... What is she? I say as I start helping out with packing the sleds and everything.
As the whale begins to move away from the shoreline, quite quickly, and the island begins to immediately vanish into that fog. "Iskra is Iskra."
Might have asked that already. Does that ring any bell to you, Velen?
Why would it ring any bells with me, Rorschach? I'm not exactly familiar with all the beings on this island, am I?
Well, you seem to know a fair bit about Durel and... things surrounding the goddess.
Well, all I know is that sound I heard. If you wish, Rorschach, you can roll an animal handling roll.
Yeah, I look back towards the sound as it fades out. Try to make sense of it. 17.
Haven't you heard that sound before? Long ago, there was another being that made a sound like that. It was a very troubling event back in Barovia.
Does seem familiar, this. And an image comes flashing back of that enormous bird that always just grew bigger and bigger, and as it was close, I couldn't believe my eyes.
Indeed you do. The Great Rock. That sound you're hearing sounds almost the same. Could this be another rock? It would make sense, perhaps.
Well, I'm happy to be away from it.
And as you are thinking that, Angerjuk descends below the waves, and once again a bubble forms. Angerjuk is swimming quickly, very quickly, and it isn't long before once again you are deep beneath the ocean, darkness surrounding you. However, Velen seems in a very good mood. Roman, how are we feeling as we leave this place, once again in the dark of the ocean, but this time returning to a safer location, as opposed to going to an unknown location?
Well, we achieved what we wanted to achieve, and the 10 towns do need our help quickly, so it feels good, yet I can't shake the feeling that we didn't get the full story over there. There was more for us to find, but we did get the most important thing. And Kalyana is waiting, after all. There's no point in tearing around.
And so, you descend deep beneath the sea of moving ice once more, surrounded by the cold and the dark.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden, for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. The music was created by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Ugasanye, Word Clock, and Metatron Omega, and was used with permission from their label Cryochamber. Check them out at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for more dark ambient. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, and David Hagberg for their generous support. And we would of course like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, this show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. May Lathander protect you and fill the world with light.